What's the best pickup line you ever used or heard? Story 1. When I was around 21, I was strolling around the produce area of the grocery store when this man, who was probably in his 70s, suddenly came up to me. "Whatever you do, stay out of the frozen food aisle," he exclaims. I was taken aback and exclaimed, "What? Why not?" He smiled and exclaimed, "Because you'll melt everything." I started laughing out loud. Even now brings a smile to my face. Story 2. When I was younger, a coworker handed me a note that said, "Will you go out with me? Smile for yes, backflip for no." He ended up being a real jerk off, but I still smile about that. Story 3. I was at Oktoberfest in Munich, and a stunningly beautiful woman walked up to me and said, "My friends bet me a beer that I couldn't make out with a foreigner. Want to help me win a beer?" I thought I was being pranked. Story 4. When I met my ex-wife, we sat on opposite sides of a nightclub with a quite big open space, dance floor stage between us, like 20 and all of a sudden we locked eyes, and she was very beautiful. So I say to my friend as a joke, "If she comes over, I'm marrying her." She did, never dropped eye contact, and just said, "I like B52S. Want to go to the bar?" We married 2 years later. Story 5. I wish I could take credit for this one. I was out with some college buddies on Mill Ave, if you know you know, over 20 years ago, and one of the guys said, "OS asterisk asterisk asterisk, they're that girl from class I'm dying to get with. Look at those beautiful eyes. She's epic. She's like Medusa, except she only turns my cock to stone every time I look at her eyes." My other buddy said, "Go tell her that, and she'll be yours." After a few drinks, he went over to her, and after a while told her exactly that. We were watching, and we saw her face. It was that, "Oh my God, you didn't just say that to me" look. Then it was laughter. 24 years later, they are happily married, and they have beautiful girls with beautiful eyes like hers. She told all of us before her wedding, especially my buddy who was his best man, "If you tell anyone that story, during the toast or at any other time, I will divorce him immediately and he can blame all of you for it." One of my favorite stories in life. Story 6. It depends on how you define best. Here is the most memorable. I was at a work event. Smallish company, 400 or so people. We were in groups. It was a competition. My group had the CEO in it. Nice guy, but kind of quiet. Not an in-your-face kind of guy. As a group, we had big events. And then, as we were moving between events, they gave us smaller challenges. So one of the challenges was best pickup line. Because of the CEO, everybody was playing it safe and cheesy. Then a salesperson busts out, "How do you like your eggs in the morning, scrambled or fertilized?" I.fucking.lost.it. Funniest thing I ever heard. Story 7. Me and the homies were at a house party. This is in Arizona way back in 1990 cess. And this woman was just stunning. I go up to her and without even thinking, I said to her, "You don't have to get me drunk, I'm a for sure thing." All I heard was laughing from everyone who heard what I said, Lola. No, I didn't get with her, but it was funny. Story 8. My hair became so thin at the age of 25 that I had to shave it off, which diminished my ego at that age. A week later, I was dragged to bed by a woman at the disco with the words, "Your bald head is so sexy." My first one-night stand. 3 days later, ICV was sitting alone in the cafe and 2 women about 30 years old were giggling at me all the time. When they left, one of them put a piece of paper with her number on my table, which had never happened anywhere near that before. Story 9. Pulled this one on a French girl at the club. Asked her name and where her accent was from, and she was like, "Oh, I'm from France. I'm an exchange student." This was in college. And I said, "Oh, no way, I have a friend from France. What part?" I did. She said, "I'm from Bordeaux." And I just went, that makes sense now. And that kind of gave her a puzzled look, so I continued by saying, "My friend told me all the beautiful girls in France are originally from there." Long story short, she ate it up and we proceeded to make out and I got her number afterwards. Never really led to a relationship though, but I'm proud of my quick drunk thinking. Story 10. My Craigslist of stolen pickup lines. I'm no photographer, but I can picture us together. I must be in a museum because you truly are a work of art. If you were a transformer, you'd be Optimus Fine. Do you like raisins? How do you feel about a date? Story 11. I met my wife at a rodeo. I rode bareback and so did her brother. She was a barrel racer. I saw her standing on the platform behind the chute while I was sliding onto my bronc. When they opened the gate, the bronc took one jump out, turned back before he cleared the gate, and went headfirst into the back of the chute, blowing my hand loose and tossing me over the chute and onto the platform, where I landed flat on my back, hard. When I regained my faculties, she and her brother, along with several others, were looking down at me, likely wondering if I was still alive. When I stood up, I stuck out the crook of my arm and asked her, "Want to make our first date? A trip to the doc's tent to check me for internal bleeding? I'll buy you a hot dog afterward." Story 12. Not a line, but I do this thing where I tilt my head when looking at them, raise my voice pitch a bit and get close to them and tell them they're really pretty while standing side by side. I try to make it sound and look sexy or seductive or whatever word you could use. It's worked only on girls that already like me. To be fair, those are the only ones I've tried it on. The giggle and eyes lighting up is awesome to see. It's worked on each girl I've dated. Story 13. This worked on a girl at a bar. We dated for a year and a half. She was sitting with a friend, another female, and I walked past her, stopped, turned to her and said, "Excuse me, do you believe in love at first sight, or do I need to walk past you again?" She laughed, went red, and said, "OMG," and did a facepalm. Her friend was laughing, not at me, but sorta at her. So I said, "Sorry, but I had no other way to get your attention," and she said, half laughing, probably because her friend was cracking up at the situation, "You could have just said your name." So I extended my hand. "Okay, hi, I'm lazy_ad, and you?" "Abby." And the rest is history. That was a funny night. Story 14. While deployed to Iraq, we were at the Green Bean Coffee Shop, and there was a female NCO from our division there. My buddy always had an eye out for her, but this was the first time the opportunity to actually talk to her presented itself. Went something like, "You look absolutely gorgeous. You boys have been here for 10 months. I'm sure anything would look gorgeous." "Yeah, but you would look gorgeous even at 3 months." She laughed, and it worked. They are still married till this day. Story 15. Just ordered a drink at the bar. While waiting, I saw a really cute girl sitting with 4 female friends at a table. We had eye contact and smiled to each other. When I got my drink, I walked there, reached over the table to shake her hand and said, "Hi, my name's is asterisk, 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 asterisk. I just thought you looked really cute. If you feel like dancing, I'll be waiting right over here by my mates." Then I just walked away. A couple of minutes later, she came over. We danced, talked the whole evening, kissed, exchanged numbers, and dated for about a year before we found out we weren't that compatible. Quite proud of that one. She told me she instantly fell for the confidence and liked the fact that I just had my eyes on her, not even looking at her friends, despite her thinking that several of her friends were more attractive. Said it made her feel very special. I just thought she looked so beautiful and sweet. Story 16. One day a friend tells me he's been into this girl but didn't know how to approach her about it. Told me all the things he liked about her and how beautiful she was. Then asked if he could send me a picture of her to get my opinion. He sent me a photo of myself. That man is now my husband. Story 17. Her beauty and poise radiated across the room, compelling me to sigh ask, "So how does a girl like you get to be a girl like you?" I was still learning when the sun rose. Story 18. Girl I'm currently talking to went to Dubai, which means she jumped to a time zone ahead of our normal one. This conversation followed. Her: "Oh yeah, Dubai is 2 hours ahead." Me: "Ooh, you'll be in the future." Her: "I'll be your future." Paraphrased because I don't know the exact words, but that's the best one I've heard. Story 19. I had this one work. Look for a girl you want to hit on, and wait until some guy is bothering her and she doesn't like it. Then come up and say, "Hey, I didn't know you were here tonight. Excuse me, bud," looking at the guy. "We have some catching up to do." As soon as the guy leaves, turn around with a big smile and say, "This place is full of fucking idiots, huh?" Then just stand there smiling big and goofy at her until she laughs. Story 23. Very attractive ladies sitting at a four-top. Made eye contact a couple times with a beauty sitting in the middle. After a couple beers, I went over and asked, "Is anyone using this chair?" They shook their heads no. I said great and sat down, made the laugh and broke the ice. Story 21. I, 21F at the time, went on a singles cruise where roommates and dinner seating were assigned randomly. A table mate pointed to another guy saying that was his roommate. He seemed interesting. Okay, he was tall. I'm 5'10", sue me. After dinner, I walk up and say, "Rumor has it you're Joe's roommate." And we were together the whole week, and even wrote for a while afterwards. Story 22. Not the best line I've heard, but definitely one that definitely made me chuckle. "My girlfriend won't go out with me, and so will nobody else either tonight. Do you want to go out with me?" This was an honest but most upfront way that anyone has ever asked me out before. I turned them down, OFC, but definitely had a good chuckle afterwards. Story 23. The best one I've used is, "Hey, I saw you from across the room. You're absolutely gorgeous, and I knew I'd be super pissed at myself if I didn't shoot my shot. Here's my number. I'd love to hear from you." Has worked every time I've used it, like 3 times. Story 24. This was back when we were in uni. My GF calls me and tells me she just agreed to a date, and that she will explain to him she's taken on the date. I flipped shit in her. Apparently the guy came up to her and said, "Hey, my name is Chance. BTW, do I have any?" He was wearing a name tag and his name was Chauncey, aka Chance. After hearing the story, I told her I would have dated him myself. Story 25. I was a skinny 18-year-old and I walked up to a table of young women and struck up a conversation. I asked one lady if she wanted to dance terribly confident with me. She said she would love to, but I would have to ask her boyfriend and gestured to a table where a couple of soldiers were sitting. Army pub. I said, no dramas. When I walked up to the table and told these guys politely that I wanted to take one of their girlfriends for a dance, they told me they didn't know her. Anyways, she was impressed that I had the balls to follow through. We danced terribly and enthusiastically to bad music. Got a few dates on top. Didn't eventuate beyond that, but a bit of fun. Story 26. Wasn't exactly a pickup line. Was a big day for Australia and I'd been out celebrating. I ended up at his house with a mutual friend. I went to leave to go to another house party and he stopped me at the door, put his hands on my cheeks and kissed me. The siftest, sweetest kiss. I melted. He then said, "Door is unlocked if you want to come back." I did go back, but didn't leave my number or anything. He got my number through the mutual friend and called me 2 weeks later after working up the sober courage. Will be 11 years in November. Story 27. So I met a girl through a mutual friend at a bar one night around 2013-ish. We chatted each other up, and we all started drinking. 2 beers in, she says, "Woo, I might do something stupid tonight." Without thinking and just trying to be funny, I said, I could be something stupid. 8 months later, she shit out a 10 lb 7 Oz torpedo. I absolutely adore my beautiful daughter, but the relationship with her egg donor was terrible. Story 28. Her, "I like your clothes, me." Thanks. Her, "I'd like them there," pointing to the other side of the room. Granted, we were already dating at the time. She was such a freak. I miss her dearly. Although I don't think we would have worked out. She's already on her 3rd marriage, and I'm a family man. Story 29. If I asked you out, would the answer to that question be the same as the answer to this question? And I once said to my now girlfriend, "You know, my mom told me to follow my dreams, and so I am," while I was sitting across from her. When I said this, she was holding her phone, and I sent her a follow request on Instagram, so she saw the notification right as I finished my sentence. With good timing, that pickup line is my favorite. Story 30. It's not my pickup line, but my husband's. Our first date was made simply because he found out I'm a nature lover, and he said, "I have the best mountain view in town. Come see it." Anyway, 17 years ago I went to see it, and we've been together ever since. Story 31. This wasn't me, but I work at an auto manufacturing plant anyway. This work friend of mine went over to one of the quality workers and said, "Hey, my line needs the VIN number you are on, and I need your number anyway." It worked. They dated for like 6 months, but broke it off due to him leaving the job, and not having a job didn't work for her. Story 32. In the service industry years ago, I invited everyone that was off over to have a pool party at my apartment. This included the hot server. She and I were sitting having a drink while everyone else was talking about where they were going next. She asked if I was going to go, and I just confidently responded, "I would rather have a few more drinks here with you and see if we make some bad decisions." That led to a really fun next few months. Story 33. I've wasted my best pickup line ever on someone who already taken. Was at a Halloween dance party, and I dressed up as the Grim Reaper. Just walking around, saying nothing, staring at people older than me. Good times. Suddenly this gorgeous girl walks up to me and says, "May I dance with death?" And I spotted her boyfriend behind her, handed him my scythe, and danced with his girl like crazy. Later that evening, there was an award ceremony for Best Dressed. Afterwards, I removed my cloak and such because it was too hot. I saw the girl again and just walked up to her and said, "Want to dance with life?" She cheerfully agreed. Another awesome dance with her. But yeah, she had a boyfriend. Shame because I'm absolutely shy and barely have the guts to approach anyone just like that. Story 34. Hot and sweaty, taking a break from summer marching band practice. She was laying there in shorts with her legs out. I asked a friend for some ice from his cooler and clutched it in my fist. "You look pretty hot, and we're all supposed to make sure no one overheats out here. It might help if I drip this on your legs and rub it in. Would that be okay?" It worked. Together 21 years. Married 18 years this October, and the legs are still hot. Story 35. 30 years ago, this was my go-to. Me. "Excuse me, what is that you are drinking?" Girl. Response with what it is, for example, rum and coke. Me. "I bet you a rum and coke I can make your boobs rotate without using my hands or touching your boobs in any way." Girl. usually a puzzled look before responding with, how? Or what? Me. I repeat myself, letting her know that with mind control, I bet her a rum and coke that I can make her boobs rotate without touching her in any way. Girl. Smiles and says, okay. Me. Put hands on my temples and pretend to use mind control, then just grab her boobs and rotate them. Then say, I guess I lost, I will get you a rum and coke. 66% of the time it worked every time. Story 36. I was in my first year of nursing school and was walking down the hall with my friends in our school-issued scrubs after a skill lab when a guy came up to me with an urgent look on his face and said, hey, are you in nursing school? Can you take my pulse real quick? And naive me was like, yeah. So I'm holding his wrist for his pulse and he's like, what's my heart rate? And I was like, around 60, and he looked at me straight in the eyes and said, thank God, because I thought my heart stopped when I saw you. I was so stunned by it, and then we laughed it off, Mao. Story 37. I eyed this pretty girl across the bar, our eyes locked momentarily. I went over and the first thing I said to her was, I hope you don't mind, but I'm a bit of a pickup artist. Then I showed her this pickup truck I drew on a napkin. Unfortunately, I am a bad artist, but luckily she could figure out what it was. She thought that was hilarious, but said she had a boyfriend. She told me I wasn't going to be single long anyway with this kind of resourcefulness. About 20 minutes later, a cute friend of hers came over and said she heard I was a pickup artist. I said I am indeed. I asked if she would like one, and she said absolutely so. I sketched her one out with my phone number on it. We went on a few dates, but it didn't work out. On our last date, as we agreed it was over, she gave me a quick kiss and said, good luck to you, Mr. Pickup Artist. Aw, shucks. To be honest, quite a few interesting things I heard and had a good laugh. Write your opinion in the comments, thanks.